Working in the UK is a dream of many individuals around the world, but they somehow feel restricted that they don't have a sponsor like an employer who would sponsor their work permit, and it is an extremely difficult process. If you're someone who wants to work in the UK, then this visa is exactly for you because there is some good news. The UK government has launched high potential individual visa in which you're allowed to come to the UK for 2 years and work here without having any sponsor. In this video, I discuss exactly what do you need to do to qualify for this visa. In addition, what is the cost of it, what is the documentation that is required, and what is the process to apply for this visa. I'm going to be showing you step-by-step guide as a masterclass so that you can apply. And in the end, you can also find on the right-hand corner my digital products that I'm offering as a cover letter that you can use to make a strong application. To share this video with you because if it is your dream to work in the UK, then this is the video for you. You do not need a sponsor. So this video is called High Potential Individual Visa, which is called HPI. Let's look at, so you can find it on gov.uk website. Just write High Potential Individual Visa. Let's look at the overview. So this visa allows you to live permission to stay in the UK for 2 years. That means you can work also. To be eligible, you need to be awarded a qualification in the last 5 years from this eligible university. Now, this is quite important, so let me explain. So, this is only for overseas universities, not from university. If you're a graduate, postgraduate, or postdoc from a UK university, you're not eligible. This is only for people who are graduates from the university, which is here, eligible list. So, if I look at it, so you must have graduated within these years. So, November 2020 or October 20, so November 2020 to 31st of October 2026. So let's look at the list. This list, for example, is a list of top universities because the UK government is trying to attract talent from top universities. So if you are a pass out from these universities between this and this dates, then you are eligible. So let's look at, for example, you have Cornell, Columbia, Hong Kong, ETS Zurich, Switzerland, EPFL, Harvard University, then there must be MIT also, Heidelberg University, John Hopkins, MIT. So there are many universities. India is not one of them, unfortunately. University of Melbourne, then you have University of California. So if you are there, this is about 79 um, universities, but you need to be careful because this list does not remain static. It does not remain same. So you need to check that which university list was there. So if you are, for example, I'll show you an example of Switzerland, where a University of Basel, let me show you here, University of Basel, Switzerland was there in November, the first time, 2020 to October 2021. But going forward, it is no longer a part of this list. Now, what this means is that if you graduated between this and this tenure, you're eligible. But if you graduated after this, from the same university, then you're not eligible. So please make sure you check that. So make sure you have one of these qualifications. So your qualification must be equal to a UK master's degree, a bachelor's degree, or postdoc, right? So if you are someone who has been awarded a bachelor's degree, which is equivalent to UK bachelor's, or postgraduate degree, then you're eligible for 2 years of visa. If you have a PhD, then you're eligible for 3 years of visa. Okay, then you need to take your qualification, the transcripts and the certificates, and apply to this organization called ECCTIS. Let's click on that. So this is an organization actually that looks at qualification comparison. So they say when you apply for a UK visa, you should use your qualification comparison if you need to show that your overseas qualification is comparable to UK bachelor's, master's, and PhD. So basically, what they're doing is they look at your coursework, they look at your degree, whether it's a genuine one, whether it's been awarded or not awarded, and then they give you a code. So when you are successful, you will receive a code in the portal that you will need to enter when you filing the online application for HPI visa. If you're not successful, they will not send you the code. Okay, this is extremely important. And the cost of this visa, not the visa, my apologies, the checking service is £252. So you can have a look. It says 210 plus £42 VAT. It takes about 20 days, and then you get your decision in terms of qualification. So let's go back. Now, what other thing you need to prove? You must also prove your knowledge of English. Now, knowledge of English is for certain countries required, and for certain countries it's not required. So you need, as of January 2026, let me show you here. You can see the language of English language requirement is changing. Earlier it used to be B1, but as of 8th of January 2026, if you're applying on or after that date, you need to have at least level B2. Okay, so make sure that you go to whichever training provider. So for example, let's look at the training providers that are approved. Let's look at these. If you're outside the UK, you can use Pearson, PSI, IELTS, and Language Cert. If you're inside the UK, then you can give these ones. Okay, make sure you get good score which is equivalent to level B2, otherwise they will reject you. If you are from these countries, which is a list here, then you do not need to prove your English language. Okay, it would automatically you, because you will enter the country where you're living, and if you are someone who has been educated in these countries, then the English language requirement would not be applicable to you, so you don't need to. Now let's look at something else. I forgot one thing that it's quite important. There is a limit of how many applications can be done in this visa. So that means they never disclose as to how many applications they approve each year. But the application window starts from 1st of November of the year and goes to the next year, 31st of October. Okay. So therefore, right now is 21st of November. So the window has already opened. So that means you're just in time. You should be applying. And if the limit is over, if the limit has reached, then you'll be told when to apply online. They will not refuse you. They will just say the limit for this year has been reached, therefore you must apply next year, or whichever date they tell you. As I told you, the HPI visa lasts for 2 years. If you're a graduate or postgraduate, if you have a PhD, it's for 3 years. Another important thing, that you cannot extend this visa. You can only switch this visa. So you can see you cannot extend your HPI visa. You may be able to switch it to skilled worker visa, for which you need a sponsor employer who has the permission to sponsor people, but that is a different ball game. You need an income threshold for that. You need employer sponsorship. But given the fact that you are a graduate or postdoc from a top university, I don't think so that should be a problem for you. You can apply online. Now there is another thing in terms of funding requirement that you should have for eligibility. So let's look at um, the cost. First of all, you need to have £252 for the ECCTIS check, which is to check your degree. Your application fees is £880 for 2 years, which is very nominal. The health surcharge fees is 1035 per each year. So health surcharge is, if you want to live in the UK and you require medical services, it is mandatory. You need to pay for this. So if your visa is for 2 years, this will be 1035 times 2. If you're living in the UK for 3 years as a postdoc, that will be 1035 times 3 per applicant. The reason why I say per applicant is because dependents are allowed. So if you're bringing your child and your wife, then there's separate health charge for each and every person is applicable. Now, another good thing is the funding requirement for this visa is extremely low. You just need to show £1,270 in your bank account in the last 20 days. So let's look at here, money to support yourself. So you will need to have this money for at least 20 days in a row, and must be within 31 days of applying for this visa. Now, given the fact that you will be applying for this visa from outside the UK, most likely, I highly recommend, because there'll be foreign currency rate fluctuation, you must have in excess of this money in your bank account for at least 28 days. I would use oanda.com or xe.com to do the real time comparison as to how much money you have. And usually the people who are applying from outside the UK, this is your requirement to sustain. Now, my recommendation is that this money cannot even get you one bedroom flat in London for a month. You need to pay even deposit also. So how much money you should be keeping in? I recommend that you keep at least 8 to 10 months or 12 months of your living cost. Even for student visa, they expect now £1,540 per month for 9 months. So that comes to 14 to 15K. If you are someone who's coming single, and you're just starting out and you want to give yourself an opportunity to come on HPI visa, I would say carry at least 15,000 pounds in the bank account, which will not only meet the minimum funding requirement, but it is going to give you a cushion to make sure that you can rent, you can eat, and you don't have any stress that nobody's going to kick you out. Because honest to God, if you are coming on only 1,270 pounds in your bank account, it is going to be extremely, extremely challenging. You will not find that you will have money even to eat, right? So in terms of financial evidence, you can show your bank statements of the last where you've kept the money for at least 28 days. But if you are someone who's been working, graduated a year ago, and you've graduated from a top university, then you can show that you were working, your latest pay slips, your salary credits, your previous employment contract. And you can also write a cover letter, which I highly recommend, because I made a template that is specially for this visa, which would be highly persuasive to the visa case officer, to give a context that how do you meet the requirements of this visa. And you have taken a very prudent and pragmatic view by having money for at least 10 to 12 months and not just for 1,270 pounds in the bank account. So because you don't want to be dependent on public funds, this is quite important. Um, you are allowed to work. You can be self-employed in this visa, that you can be consultant and you can provide services on individual basis as a self-employed person, or you can work for a company. But what you cannot do is you cannot be on a visitor visa, visit visa, or on sports visa. Second, if you are uh, you cannot access public funds. That means any job seeker benefits or any housing benefits. So you cannot get that. And the way to satisfy the visa officer is to have a solid evidence of your financial ability. If you just say I have 1,270 pounds in the bank account and you are a high potential visa, that's great, right? The chances are they would say yes, you graduated, you meet the grounds. But if you really want to make persuasive application, I recommend you take the cover letter that I've said, you use it, you tailor it to your requirement, and then you submit a solid application with your qualification comparison by the ECCTIS, your English language if you qualify. If you have any dependents, you add additional funds for that. You pay your minimum, you show your minimum balance and in excess of that, and then you show your intentions as to why you're coming. I have included all of that in the cover letter. Now, it is possible that you are someone who has a family and they want to also come. The good news is they can come and live and work with you on this visa as dependents. Here it says there. And usually their expiry date would be the same as yours. If a child's parents have visas with a different expiry, the child's visa end date would be or earlier, not relevant for you. So, in terms, if you have a partner, you need to you must be able to prove one of the following: you are in a civil relationship, marriage that is recognized in the UK. You've been living together in a relationship for at least 2 years when you apply. You've been in a relationship for at least 2 years when you apply, but you cannot live together. So this is really important. If you were married a year ago, and you've not lived together for 2 years, you will not qualify. So this is really important. So please read. I'm not going to cover all of these unless you make me do the application for you. Here is the requirement for the child. You need to show evidence of your address, bank statement, credit cards, NHS. You need to so money to support themselves. Okay, this is really important. When you're bringing your spouse, imagine you meet the requirement of spouse, you need to show that you have additional 285 pounds for your partner and 315 pounds for one child. Now, for if you are one person with wife and a child, you need to show 1,270 pounds for yourself, 285 for your partner, and 315 for your child. So in total around 1,870 pounds. Now, when you are coming as a family, my recommendation would be at least have 2,000 pounds per month for at least 10 months or 12 months as a buffer, and show that how you will sustain yourself. Because if you come there without a job, because there is no sponsorship, you have to first come and set your bases, rent a place, have pay for groceries, and make sure that your child is well looked after. You need this amount of money at least to sustain. What they expect you to have is around 1,870 only for the last 28 days. But my recommendation is you should show at least 20 to 24,000 pounds in total for the entire year, so that the visa officer is convinced that you will be able to look after yourself financially beyond the minimum requirement, and you have some cushion and you will not be dependent on public funds. Because you make a very plausible point. If you are bringing so much of cash in terms of financial support to give yourself cushion, it assures the UK government in believing that you are pragmatic, prudent, and you've factored in any uncertainty, given the fact on this visa you're not allowed any public benefits. Okay, so I hope you find this thing quite useful. um, what else is remaining? You cannot switch this visa. You can switch this visa to a highly skilled worker visa that I've already covered. So let's look at the recap. This visa is for 2 years. You don't need a sponsor. If you have a postdoc, you can stay for 3 years. Okay, in terms of limit, you can apply from both outside the UK and inside the UK. If you're applying from outside the UK, it will take 3 weeks. If you're applying from inside the UK, it's taking 8 weeks. Don't ask me why, but that is the normal time scale. So you need to have paid application fees, health surcharge for your stay, prove enough savings, and what you can and cannot do. You can work in most jobs, look for work, be self-employed, live in the work with your partner, do voluntary work, travel abroad, and return to you. You cannot apply for most benefits. You can see work as a professional sportsman, extend this visa, or apply to settle permanently in the UK. Now this is really important, because people think like, why am I moving to this country if I cannot settle? The good news is this visa allows you to stay in the UK for 2 years. But if you migrate to skilled worker visa, where you get a sponsorship from your client, from your employer, that visa would be more than 2 years. And if you stay in the UK for at least 5 years consistently, and you've not left the UK for at least 90 more than 90 days a year, on an average for 450 days in 5 years, you will meet the grounds for indefinite leave to remain. But the indefinite leave to remain is changing, so please do not take my word for it. Keep yourself updated. But if there is a potential on this visa that you can switch to skilled worker visa later on, and that will give you grounds to settle in the UK indefinitely. So that is a caveat for you that you should know. I think it's a pretty standard and straightforward application. The fact that you have passed out from a top university, the chances of you getting this visa are quite high if you provide the documentation properly. Another important thing is that um, if you're coming from a country where English is usually not required, then you don't need to prove your English language requirements. So let's have a look. Which are those countries? Who does not need to prove their English language? See, these are the countries. So if you are from one of these countries, then you don't have to prove, and that is quite important. But if you are not from one of these countries, make sure you are reaching level B2, because from 8th of January 2026, this requirement is changing. So if you apply before this date, you must meet at least B1, which is written here. If you're applying from this date, then you need to have at least B2, and make sure you go and give a test at IELTS or Pearson. But I have no doubt, given the fact that you're a graduate or postdoc from a top university, that you would find any difficulty. So hopefully you found this visa insights pretty useful, and it gives you encouragement to come and work in the UK. And being a small time creator, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and leave me some comments down below. If you need my assistance to file the visa for you, I'm happy to do so. I charge a separate fees for that. I would charge a consultation fees of 500 francs for an hour. Then to make an application, depending on the documentation, then I will quote you the final fees. But in case if you just want a cover letter that addresses the grounds and as to how you meet, I have prepared a template which is in the right top hand corner, which you can utilize and go onto the website and digitally download. So after having looked at this entire video in which I showed you step-by-step guide of this high potential individual visa in the UK, how you can apply for this visa, what are the restrictions of it, and how you can make a strong applications to ensure that you qualify for this visa. But I think my suggestion would be that when you're making an application, make sure you include a cover letter. A strong cover letter is quite persuasive because it allows the visa case officer to see and get the context of the information, which may not be possible to enter in the online application form. Now, I'm offering special offer, which is on the right hand side uh, the cover letter specific to your situation, and especially for this visa, in case you're looking. So you can amend this cover letter that suits your profile, and in the way that it best demonstrates that how you meet the requirements of this visa. And I think the benefit of this cover letter would be that it would allow the visa case officer to actually see that how you meet the grounds of this visa besides the documentation. So if you want, go and grab the offer, on click on the right hand side, and then see, and you will get an immediate digital download of the file in both PDF, Word document, and ODT, which is Google Doc format, which you can amend. I Before I go, I just want to make a disclaimer that this is not legal advice. You must do your own research and look at the guidelines of the UK Home Office, because the immigration laws are changing constantly. So make sure you check before you submit anything. Now, given the fact that I am a small creator, it means the world to me that you subscribe to my channel, and it helps me keep going, because I'm trying to create content and try to transform at least 1 million lives through career counseling videos, videos in finance, videos in law, and videos related to UK visas. And I would really appreciate if you can show me some support by subscribing to my channel, because every time you subscribe or leave a comment, that gives me the encouragement to keep going on being a small time creator. I thank you so much for your support and encouragement. Till next time, take care.